going on in England? They're banning, well, they already banned guns, and then we kid, like, well, what are you going to do next? Ban knives? Well, hush, you have to show an ID to buy even a butter knife. Have you seen the pictures flowing through your social media feed? My favorite one is there's a cutlery set for Thomas the Tank, you know, like Thomas the Tank Engine rolling along, the little kid's cartoon. And it's toddler silverware, but because it's actually made of a metal, there's like a little tiny baby fork and a little tiny baby spoon. And because there's a little tiny baby knife in there, there's a sticker on it. And you must prove that you're not a minor in order to buy a Thomas the Tank Engine butter knife. Well, we just keep seeing how far down the rabbit hole can go for these people. And we're not to the bottom yet. It was just announced. I don't know if this was yesterday or today, or if there's a time change there. So I think it's already Saturday or something in England. But this is Sky News. They're banning ninja swords. Ninja swords. They have a problem with ninjas? What's going on in the UK?
Begin with breaking news. The government has banned ninja swords 3 years after the death of 16-year-old Ronan Kanda. It will be illegal to possess, sell, make or import the weapon from the summer, with anyone caught with a ninja sword potentially facing 6 months in prison. The ban is part of measures known as Ronan's Law, which also requires retailers to report bulk or suspicious sales to police, and an increase to jail sentences for selling weapons to children. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, said it's part of a wider mission to try and keep children safe.
Oh, my God. I just played that. I know I just told you the same information, but I don't want you to think I'm just making this up. Like, Parker's running out of things to talk about. He's just making up stuff about ninjas now. Because here I am. I'm reading your mind. I can read your mind. Oh, no, already read it. So let me tell you what you're thinking already. How about instead of getting rid of the ninja swords, we get rid of the ninjas, like the people who are doing the stabbing? Wouldn't that? Because you know where a lot of this comes from. Historically in England, they aren't known for being a stabby population, but they've imported people that from cultures that are a little more prone to stabbing. And so now what are you doing? You're outlawing the instruments by which they stab you with. You're not deporting the people who are stabbing you. You're still going to live next to them. You're just going to try and make it harder for them to get sharp objects. Brilliant work. Just absolutely brilliant work. You have got to be kidding me. And a couple of things to note here. Slippery slope arguments, they're not automatically logical fallacies in the real world. I know for a lot of people, when you get in these debates and you talk about, you make a slippery slope argument. Well, you know, if you ban guns, what's next? You're going to ban knives? That's legit now. That is a legit argument. Now, not all slippery slope arguments escape the label of logical fallacy, but this one's real. Because now what's next? Just banning steak knives? You know, they have to make banning ninja swords. Ninja swords. Y'all having a problem with ninjas? I don't think you're having a problem with ninjas. And I don't think you understand how bad it is, because they want to cover it up and they don't want to go say, boy, we sure are getting stabby over here in England, because they like to brag how crazy and barbaric and Byzantine we are over here in America. Yeah, you silly out of control guys. Not like us over here in England. We do the sensible thing where we ban guns and we don't have school shootings and we can live in harmony, unlike you brutes, you weirdos over there, you bunch of Yosemite Sam sounding cowboys. Did you know violent crime is higher in England than it is in America? Now, not gun crime, but violent crime, people getting stabbed, much higher in England on a per capita basis than it is in America. There was the gun control guy. He's so good at this. Him and John Lott are good at it. His last name's Pratt. I remember him being, you saw the Prime Minister mention the stabbing that happened 3 years ago. He goes on the Piers Morgan show. And listen to this back and forth. This is so prescient from this guy. His name's Pratt with Piers Morgan 3 years ago.
The problem is not going to go away if we ban this or that gun. We've tried that. That doesn't work. Doesn't even work in England. You've had mass murders there. All over Europe there have been mass murders. The solution is for people to be able to defend themselves at the point of the crime and not wait for 20 minutes for the police to come after everybody's dead.
Mr. Pratt, was an absolute lie. The gun murder rate in countries like Britain or Germany or Australia, who've all suffered massacres many years ago of similar nature, have They are 35 people killed a year. Your country is 12,000.
Your murder rate is lower than ours. That is true.
Lower? It's 35 against 12,000.
Your violent
in Australia,
crime rate,
they had a
your
massacre,
violent
and they
crime
got
rate
rid
is
of these
higher
assault
than
weapons.
ours, as is the violent crime rate in Australia. America is not the Wild West that you are depicting. We only have the problem in our cities and unhappily in our schools, where people like you have been able to get laws put on the books that keep people from being able to defend themselves. I honestly don't understand why you would rather have people be victims of a crime than be able to defend themselves. It's incomprehensible.
Oh, I love that. Just love that. And then Garrett, the producer of the show, pointed out to me that there's such sissies in England that when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out in the 80s, they had to rename it the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. And that sounds like something you made up. And I went and I heard the song, and I wish I could unhear it because it almost ruined my entire childhood. But they have raised now multiple generations here that are incapable of self-defense. There's not anyone in England who grew up carrying a gun. And you're going to make that even worse. They're not even going to be used to having sharp objects. You know, at some point, you're going to have to storm the beaches of Normandy again. And you don't want the first time your soldiers handle a gun is to be when they get to basic training or the battlefield. Man, no, there's no wonder we beat these sissies in a revolution. I'm surprised they ever colonized a quarter of the world to begin with. Guns are scary. Knives are scary. Ninja swords are scary. No, ninja swords are not scary. Because you know what a good solution is to stay safe against ninja sword attacks? Some people say outlaw knives. I bet you say shoot them. Whoever gets stabby. They brought a gun to a knife fight or a knife to a gunfight. You win if you have the gun. Guns will keep you safe from knives. Now we're down to knife control. Knife control. Weakness is not a virtue, and being dangerous is not a vice. My next guest is the great Raven Harrison. We love her because she's going to have some hot opinions on the headlines any day we go to her. But I want to start with what's my favorite story of the day, Raven. I don't know if you saw this. The UK has banned ninja swords, and I just think that is hilarious. Y'all having a problem with ninjas over there? Is that what you're having a problem with, the UK ninjas?
Apparently, yeah. So, and then when we get those, we're going to have to get the ninja headbands, and we're going to have to, ban seat cushions and mean looks. I mean, they have really gone off the deep end with this. This is what happens. First, they banned guns. It's going to be okay as long as we take the guns. Now you have the guns, and now it's knives. And then it was acid attacks. And UK is just unfortunately spiraling into this lunacy.
Well, they imported all the people who are doing the majority of the stabbing. So instead of deporting the stabbers, they're outlawing the sharp objects with which they're being stabbed.
Correct. And then they're controlling the information. Anybody who dares to say that online is going to the clink. So this is how they're doing with it. Oh, we have a problem with J.D. Vance saying that speech isn't free here. And they're like, wow, that was, as they would say in England, that's bollocks. And they're in jail now. It's absolutely unreal.
Bollocks.
This is a good lesson for America of what happens if we don't stay vigilant here. That will be us.
What does that mean in English, bollocks? Like it's so English we can't even understand it.
Well, I'll let you guys Google it.
Right. No.
On the air.
It was a rhetorical question. The other big headline, and this one's hilarious because it affects us. Trump putting the tariff on cars that are made overseas. I don't think this is going to be like the permanent long-term policy going forward, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. What do you think about it, Raven?
Well, what I think about it is it's amazing to see the pushback we're getting, especially from the left. Everything has reversed. In 2016, they wanted accountability in the presidency. Now that Elon's giving it to it, they don't want it. They were okay with billionaires when Soros, but now they're not. As far as the cars and the tariffs, it still amazes me the outrage we're getting from, us reciprocating tariffs on Canada. They're saying this is outrageous. The U.S. is a bully. They have 270% tariffs on some of the things they send to us. This is the fair share. This is what President Trump has always been talking about countries and people paying their fair share, and they've been ripping off America, and we have just tolerated that. And now that we're leveling the playing field, everybody is losing their mind. Trump could say, look, I'm curing cancer. We have the right to die of cancer. So we
Right.
have got to just ride this wave of tantrums. Climate change. You got to have an electric vehicle. Well, Elon owns it. Never mind. Let's have gas guzzlers and firebomb them with gas Molotov cocktails. I mean, these people are crazy.
Yeah, and I like that juxtaposition, that they defy logic, because Molotov cocktail uses fossil fuels. So
Yes.
using fossil fuels to burn an electric car, not good for the environment. Raven, according to their own, scary apocalyptic projections, this is terrible for the environment. You're killing people.
And one guy in Vegas got arrested for the Tesla attack because he had explosive on these Teslas, and he was using a machine gun to fire at them. So guns are okay now too. I mean, it's just absolutely unreal watching the left just spiral, and they can't figure out why they're polling at 26%.
Well, we also have the story that I'm going to be covering next. There's a Sharia city proposed for Texas, and some people are not too happy about that. In fact, there's some people that are listening right now in that town, and they tell me the locals there are just stark raving mad about this. Do you think this is going to happen?
I think that they're going to try, and they're going to get very close because, again, where are our legislators? Where is Congress? Where is the governor on this? It's completely illegal. You can't have some sub-government coming in that supersedes the Constitution and supersedes the laws of America, and it's happening right under our nose. And this is a good time to remind people that what good is the majority if the sell-out, do-nothing politicians are going to just sit by and make a speech about this? This is not a time for a mean face, guys. It's time to do your job. So everybody in that Texas legislator who was allowing this to go, this should be, headline, people arrested and perp walked for attempting treason in the United States. It should not be, hey, they're pretty close to instituting Sharia. We are not a Sharia. We are a nation of a constitution. We are a republic. And it's time that we remind the politicians down there, remember, they're up for election. Don't write checks if they're allowing this.
Well, also, they say that we promise we're not going to follow Sharia law here. We'll follow the laws of the great state of Texas, because this is happening in Collin County. I mean, it's just right around the corner from us.
No, but these are the same people who go, we've investigated ourselves and we haven't found anything. We're good. Promise.
Right. Well, they also say that they're not going to let anyone in who's not a Muslim. And so, the cops can't even go check to see what you're doing there. Okay, that's we'll talk about it next. But Raven Harrison, how's the campaign going? How can they help?
Going great. Donations appreciated to Raven Harrison for Congress.com. Help us make the fight.
The project's called Epic City by the people who are putting it on. It's called a Sharia city by those who are sounding some alarm bells. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that. They absolutely swear, the people who are putting this project together, that this is not going to be under Sharia law. They will follow their own law, but they are saying that this is going to be a city that's intended for Muslims and Muslims only. It's a 402-acre plot of land, and so in this contiguous community, they plan to have all of the amenities needed for a community to be happy. They want to have their own school. They have I saw a stadium, like a sports stadium there. They had, of course, a big mosque centered in the middle. And so we're at an interesting inflection point here. This is supposed to be the land of freedom that was founded on religious liberty. Then again, if you're going to be here, you can follow your own religion, but you still have to follow the laws of the land around you. You can't take away the rights of women and make them dress like ninjas. How many times are ninjas going to come up on today's show? You still have to allow people that have their full complement of civil rights. I mean, are they going to let them drive cars or whatever? So, as long as they're following the laws of the land and we have some way to be able to go in and prove it, then should that be legal? A lot harder to argue against. The one slip up that I think it's not going to be so easy to resolve. How about this? Should they be allowed to just sell those houses to only people who are Muslims? Because you should think if someone owns their own private property and they own this 400 acres and they build their own house, they should be able to sell it to whoever they want. But haven't we already said, like, religious exclusions, discrimination based on religion is a bad thing? And for those of you who want to stop it, How do you do that without violating freedom of religion? It's an interesting situation we got going on over here. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. So before I take some calls here, I think this is easy. Number one is the cops will be allowed to go in there, especially if there's a call or probable cause of wrongdoing. You are not allowed to have your own separate court system, and we'll treat you. Look, if you want to segregate and have some sort of, compound that's a religious sect, knock yourself out. We're going to treat you like maybe like the Amish or something, but you still have to live by the laws of the land. You don't get to do Sharia. You don't get to force women to dress in ways that they don't want to dress, or they can't have private property, or they can't hold jobs, or they can't drive a car just because your religion says so. This is still going to be a free country, and the freedom of religion is not going to be used as a shield to violate individual freedoms of the people living in that place. Now, I don't have a problem with it being built. In fact, I'd like to have an example of what it would look like. What if we do have a Muslim-specific community? What if we have, different results when it comes to education or criminality? Or maybe you just like the fact that, hey, look, they don't litter. It could be a learning experiment. It takes all kinds. But you have to follow our laws. And everyone that lives in there gets their full complement of human rights is my only stipulation on that. What do you think? 800-288-9227. Jet from Plano. You're on WBAP. What do you think about Epic City?
So I work with a group that is not only fighting this Epic City project near Josephine, Texas, but also another Sharia group that's trying to set up in Blue Ridge, Texas, and another one in Aubrey, Texas. If you study what the Sharia law groups have done to destroy areas of New Jersey, and also this happened in Michigan, they set up their own Sharia law communes, if you will, communities. They immediately start running for office. They take over the city councils, the mayors, the judges, just like they've done and let's use New Jersey as an example. And the next thing they know, because they dominate and own and operate all the decision-making seats and authority, your judges, your city council, your mayors, and then your security, like your police system, they start implementing Sharia law outside their group. And for people who don't think it's doing, they need to check out what's happening in New Jersey and in Michigan. So we work with a group that will go to city councils and HOAs that will want to sit down and get educated on how to fight this, because we don't want it. We don't want this in our state. We don't want it anywhere. If you come here, you abide by and honor our constitutional law, and they don't believe they have to. They believe Sharia law supersedes constitutional law, and any laws actually anywhere.
Yeah, and that's I have no problem with everything you said up until the point where you say they think Sharia law supersedes the Constitution, and that's where I have a problem. I don't have a problem with religious zealots going out and making their own community. Like I said, we do it with like the Amish; they go live by their own laws, and they're actually exempt from a lot of the same things that you and I would be thrown in jail for. They don't have to contribute to Social Security. Of course, they don't get Medicare or Medicaid, but they don't have to go into the draft and a few other exceptions. So we allow them to sort of break the laws that the rest of us have to abide by, but they do allow all of the people who live there to have their full complement of human rights. And they also have a really good history of not blowing stuff up and not sawing off heads and making viral videos out of it and not flying planes into buildings. So, when I think about my knee-jerk reaction to this, it's because I don't like what some of the people of that religion have done whenever they've gotten roots of power into these other areas on planet Earth. It hadn't really turned out too wonderful. And I have Muslim friends and I've worked with them and we get along fine. But everywhere where Muslims dominate, where they are more than a majority of the population, human rights start to recede. Name the country where Muslims are a majority that doesn't have their full complement of human rights. It's all of them.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Okay. In Blue Ridge, I can't say this about Epic yet. That's being worked on right now. But at the Blue Ridge project that we're fighting, we went to the city council meeting to let the city council know several things. It's everything I just shared with you. Annexing was done incorrect and has to be redone because they want to be annexed into the city, but they're under a 501c3 umbrella, so they don't put taxes into the area. And both organizations funding the Blue Ridge Project. They're a 501c3, including Nate, which
Chet,
is
we got to run.
Okay, is Hamas. It's a terrorist group.
Well, then that's a no-brainer. That's easy to stop it if they're affiliated with a terrorist group. It's called Epic City. It's proposed for East Collin County on the other side of Lavon Lake, right outside of Josephine, a 402-acre plot of land that's going to be turned into a city exclusively for Muslims. Is that legal? Should it be legal? Should it be allowed? How do you stop that without violating someone's right to express their religion however they see fit? 800-288-9227. Let's go to Debbie in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. What do you think, Debbie?
Well, darling, what happened to assimilation? You come to our country, shouldn't you assimilate to our culture? Why do we have to bend for theirs?
We don't make the Amish do that. Why don't you have a problem with
No, the Amish at least are law-abiding for the most part.
Right. So the problem isn't. I'm not trying to burn you here. I'm just showing that the problem really isn't even the assimilation. The problem is that the non-assimilated Muslims blow stuff up and kill people and violate the rights of women. They oppress women. They saw the heads off of infidels, even other Muslims who don't measure up to the right standard. So no, it's not about assimilation. And you just betrayed the true problem here. Is they just have a terrible record.
They do. Not to mention, they also have they have a law that, if you shame the family, they will kill their daughter. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I have a problem with people who are violent and vulgar and disrespect other people's way of life just because. So let them stay in their own damn country. Excuse my French.
Well, look, they don't have to. I'd rather them stay here. Actually, I'd rather them to convert to Christianity if I had my druthers. But I'm not that persuasive. But how about I liked your initial response. I think we all know Muslims who are pretty American. Like I had a Muslim friend named Cleo.
Oh, yeah.
He went to high school in Tampa. He's just as American. He doesn't have an accent or anything. He does speak Arabic. But when he goes and visits his family in the West Bank, he comes back and he's glad he's American. He's like, I'm so happy to live in Dallas.
For him.
Yeah.
And thank God for him. But ask him, would he like to have Sharia law?
Oh, he wouldn't. He'd like seeing girls in bikinis. We've already had that conversation. Thank you very much. Let's go to Donna, also in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
Well, I was just thinking, we have the areas of major cities mostly, I guess, with the Chinatown in the area where there's more of the Mexican culture, resides and stuff like that. Why can't they just have a section where they're all there practicing their culture and their religion without having to go against our laws? Why can't they coincide with us in those laws? They did come here, some of them, or they are here. I mean, they can practice their religion and everything in that area. And those people of that nature will automatically, flock to that area. Just like
well, look, having your own neighborhood that people just kind of voluntarily move into is something that happens without excluding necessarily Christians, like they're overtly saying, or non-Muslims, I should say. And I think I heard in your conversation kind of the same pain point that I have there, in the fact that they're going to try and set up a parallel system, a legal system that is sort of where I draw the line. You know what? I don't mind having your own subdivision, and y'all want to put a mosque in the middle, and y'all can all live with people who are like-minded, but you still have to follow our laws, and the Constitution reigns supreme over your Sharia. And if you don't like it, I think that's where my problem begins. Thank you very much, Donna.
Thank you.
We'll squeeze in Terry and Bonham. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yes, I just want to make another point. I'm from Oklahoma, tribal roll number, and in Oklahoma they have their own tribal land and their own tribal police. I've never run into any trouble with them. My mother's side is the Indian, so she has the degree that we passed down. But my dad and my brother's side, they were all officers in the state and whatever. So there is tribal land in Atoka, just right up 75, and the houses belong to the Indians. They build on it. They have their own tribal police, and the locals don't go on their property. Now, I don't know all the rules because I don't study all that, but I just want to make that point that it's a
nation within a nation. Yeah, and that's kind of what they're setting up, more so than just a subdivision. They want to set up their own little nation within a nation. Right. All right, good stuff. Nice perspective there, Terry in Bonham from Oklahoma. But hey, if they can get away with this, can we do this? Can we set up our own little subdivision here and we'll have our full complement of human rights? You can have whatever guns you want. How about that? How about in Parkerstan, all straws have to be plastic. Paper straws outlawed. Can I do that? 800-288-9227. What do you think about Epic City? Is it Sharia law coming to Texas or just an innocent little subdivision of people who share a faith? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This is William over in Rockwall. You're not too far from the proposed project. What do you think about it?
Hello, James. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, I don't think this project is really going to come to fruition. The reason why is that we have anti-discrimination laws built into our funding mechanisms, like home loans and construction loans. And no bank is going to fund a project that has discrimination built in. So what these people in these communities typically need to do is they either need to buy everything in cash or they need to look internally for their own funding. This type of project has happened before, several different communities, and they all seem to fail because the discrimination of how they're trying to construct their community, they just can't get funding from the banks. So I think that's what you're going to see.
Okay, so let's assume that they can get funding, whether they do it themselves or they raise the money from private donations at their mosque, or some sheikh over in Qatar says, here's the money, boom. Now how do you feel about it, William?
Well, as long as they don't create a duplicate judicial system that overrides the U.S. Constitution, local municipalities, and state law, then just like everybody else in this country, they should be able to be free to practice their religion the way they want to.
Yeah, some people are coming across as clearly like concerned about Islam getting a foothold, culturally speaking, in America, because it hasn't worked out so well in other countries that have tried it. But everyone else is at the same time saying, as long as they don't supplant the Constitution, then I don't have a problem with it. So we're all kind of walking on the fence here. Like, we don't mind if they make it, but we just don't like the results of other people doing the same thing. And I guess we know where the boundaries are. Are they going to follow our laws or not? But thank you very much, William in Rockwall. When I was a kid growing up in Bug Tussle, granted this was 30, 40 years ago, we had just built a new elementary school, and next to that was plans to build a mosque. Oh, a mosque. In Bug Tussle in the 1980s? Yeah, some people weren't too happy about it. But when we come back and review what happened after the fact, they ended up building the mosque, and it is next to where I went to school for about a year and a half. And now these people are pretty well assimilated. There's like Mo's Pizza. His name's Muhammad, but he goes by Mo. And whenever you go to a Bug Tussle football game, sometimes when we score a touchdown and the teachers throw a little football into the stands, it says Mo's Pizza on it. And there's another guy, his name's Ho, and I'm not trying to be funny. He has a chain called Mr. Ho's Pizza, and we all love it. We're like, that Ho's got some good pizza, and he's just assimilated as hell. I mean, they're American, and as long as we can like be promised that in 20, 30 years from now, this is what it's going to turn into, it's really hard to argue against, isn't it? David in Bedford, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Oh, hello. Hey, here's the deal. Bottom line. As long as they obey the laws of the land and they don't infringe on their children or even their neighbors, who maybe one of the neighbors decide to become a Christian. You know what I'm saying? And they're not participate in their religion. They'll participate in celebrating Christmas and Easter and all the above. And then on top of that, if you build an elementary nearby in that community, they've got to fly the American flag in front of that school. They can't put the Muslim flag up there. I'm just saying that they're still going to have to obey the laws of the land and people, and then not infringe on their rights to be different from their community. Maybe one day somebody goes to a Billy Graham evangelist. He's not.
And we convert them all. Look, that would be ideal as a Christian if we just converted them all slowly over time. But
just one at a time. Yeah.
But David, where has that happened? Where have Muslims moved to a previously Christian or a non-Muslim area, and they become concentrated in their own towns, and they don't try to institute Sharia law. They don't try and change the native culture.
Probably up there where AOC is and Elon Omar. Those type of communities where they get enough of them around where they can elect officials that represent their districts or whatever. That's not cool. but they're still going to have to obey the law. We've got to make it, but they have freedom to build, to the pursuit of happiness, all the above in this country. But at the same time, we are largely, honestly, all men are created equal, and we're not created in the eyes of Allah, the founders of this country. It was in the eyes of God Almighty of the Bible.
Yeah,
and that's who we are.
Really, the assimilation there is easier than a lot of people think, because you have a group who's very religious. It's like, oh, well, we're very religious. And they're like, well, we like guns. Oh, we like guns. We like drilling for oil. Oh, my goodness, we like drilling for oil, too. So there's a lot of solid overlap where I get along with a God-fearing or Allah-fearing Muslim more so than I would a Rachel Maddow or a Bernie Sanders type person. Guns are scary. You should drive a Prius. Oil's evil. So that's a interesting overlap. But then there's a couple of conflicts with our culture. Like, you don't like bikinis, you don't like bacon. All right, got to draw the line somewhere. And the consensus seems to be that we're all okay with it as long as we let our cops go in there and enforce our laws the way we see fit. As long as you admit the Constitution is the basis of the law of the land, and your Sharia considerations are just mere suggestions, not something that supersedes the Constitution. If you want to wear a headscarf, wear a headscarf. But you're not going to be passing any laws that make other women who don't want to wear headscarves wear headscarves. So that seems to be where everyone's fallen, myself included. What do you think? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is Carrie in Ennis. What do you think about the Epic City, Carrie?
Hi. I just think everybody's kind of skirting around the issue here and trying to be nice without offending anybody. And that's what gets us in these places that we're at now with LGBTQIA and everything else. There's a great woman on X, Amy Mack, who's been exposing this, and I highly suggest that everybody go look at her feed. She just posted yesterday about Al-Qaeda has a recruitment network now based in Garland. And I can't pronounce it. It's Tablighi Jamaat. But they have declared that Texas is the center of Islamic initiatives all over America. They know if they take Texas, they take the country.
Yeah, so there are the people, Greg Abbott was talking about, they're investigating the connections behind the funding mechanism for this project and what used to be the Holy Land Foundation, and they got in trouble for raising money and sending some of that to Hamas or some other terrorist group. I know they got in trouble for financing terrorist groups. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a connection there, that makes this just a no-brainer. Of course we're going to say no to that. But I do like the more difficult questions. Well, what if they're not directly connected to terrorism? What if they are going to use the Constitution as their law? Do we still have a problem with it? And some of us still kind of do, because, unlike the Amish, unlike Jewish people, unlike other minorities, they blow stuff up. Some of them have, have you ever seen a Jewish person hijack a plane and fly it into a building? Have you ever seen a Hindu person, come and saw someone's head off for being an infidel, put it online for a recruitment video? No, there's a special brand of concern that comes with this group of people, and it's not because we're religious bigots. It's because they've proven all over the world that when they get a foothold, human rights recede to the background.
Absolutely. And the first caller was absolutely dead on, spot on. Paterson, New Jersey is the first place to look. They are declaring, they're flying flags that are non-U.S. flags, right? Minnesota's the same way. If we want a whole Congress full of alien Omars, then let's let it in. But that's what's going to happen, because that's already happening around the country in all these different cities. But everybody has to go check out Amy Mack's feed. She's been on it since.
Yeah, I'm familiar with her. And for those of you who aren't, it's Meck is M-E-K. M-E-K.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Carrie and Ennis, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha, Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
I have experience with this.
Hey, it's Samantha from, she was at the listener meetup on Tuesday.
Yeah. Meet you and everything.
Well, you have a very distinctive voice. You sound like you're 4'4". And she's not. She's of regular size. She's a normal looking lady of average height. Go ahead.
Well, I was told there would be beer and creeps, and there was none of that. So I was very disappointed.
Oh, yeah, there was supposed to be a creep there. Anyway, your thoughts on Epic City. Go ahead.
in LA. They broke into my house 3 times.
Wait, who is they?
Muslims.
What? Why would they're not known for robbery?
I don't know. I'm a single Christian woman living by myself. They broke in. They broke my dog's leg. They tried to extort money from me. The idea that they have like these, and these are like radical imam, you know, like it was like a whole network. And I hired a private investigator and found out all about them. They were out of Egypt. They did a lot of rotten stuff, and they had a long history of, So I'm not saying all, you know.
Of course not.
I have Muslim friends as well, and I do know some that are very upstanding people, but there's a lot entailed in their faith, you know, that.
Well, Samantha, I think a lot of us have had a similar experience, and my friends that are Muslim that I get along with and we hang out with, they're not very Muslim. Like, I remember going to Subway, and I'm like, you know, if you eat a cold cut combo that has pork in it, he's like, where? I'm like, in the bologna. What do you think the bologna is? He's like, give me a number 3 anyway. You know, he wore gold rings, which is haram according to Islam, and you know, every once in a while I'd see him eat pork or whatever. So, you know, we'd all feel a little bit better about it if you just assimilate a little more. You know, the headscarf thing kind of bothers us. You know, I'm glad you want to be modest, but we also know that it's 104 degrees out here, and you're not doing that because you want to. You don't have to do that. So, yeah, Epic City. I guess a lot of people are going to keep an eye on this. I'll let you know when we get more info coming up on it. Because, look, there's a lot of people who are expressing their disapproval, and they have a lot more power than I do. We have powers at the state level, some local officials who are looking into it. Governor Greg Abbott has an investigation launched into their financing mechanism and their connections to terrorism. So this thing might not happen at all, but it's been a damn good discussion on the James Show, and y'all have been great debaters.